We're all targets waiting to be found. We're the jungle. We must eat or be eaten. We're a ticking time bomb, ready to explode to the ends of the earth. Tick, tock, tick, tock. The sound coming from the watch on my wrist was the only thing that kept me from going completely into shock as I stared at the body in front of me. I couldn't begin to understand how possible it was for every single thing I've known and ever loved to go southwards towards doom. One minute, I'm talking to my very best friend about boys and freelance jobs I've gotten over the years, and the next minute, I'm standing in front of a lifeless body somewhere in the woods. A cracking sound in the distance brought me out of my reverie, making me look around in panic. I had wandered far away from our campsite into a territory I wasn't familiar with. I had no idea which path I had taken to get to this point I was at the moment, and the thought of getting lost was a concept I was beginning to detest. "Breathe, Rose. Breathe," I whispered to myself as a gust of wind blew past, making me shiver. I wasn't wearing anything warm, except for Robbie's shirt, which I had snagged from his backpack earlier while he wasn't looking. And now that I thought about it, he was probably looking for me. And that was more than enough reason for me to let the tears, which I had tried to hide for so long, come out. I had left him back at the campsite to take a piss, but I hadn't expected to get lost. The winding dirt path which I had taken was one I had taken numerous times in all the years we've used the campsite. I didn't have my cell phone, and even if I had one with me, there was no call service to begin with. I heard it again, the growl. It was subtle the first time, but now it was a bit loud. Who, or whatever it was that had attacked the man in front of me, must be lurking around here, probably waiting for the right time to attack me. And that was enough to make me want to go mad with paranoia. I quickly got up from the trunk of the collapsed tree where I'd sat on to think, and began making my way towards a path that looked like it held a lot of secrets. It was probably not the safest option for me, but it did make a lot of sense to me at the time. The growling sound was even more pronounced at this point, and for a second I contemplated going back to the clearing where I had stayed before, but I couldn't spend another minute staring at a corpse. I'd have nightmares for the rest of my life, and that would be if I didn't end up at the same fate as he did. It was already really dark, and the thick canopy of trees above me wasn't helping matters at all. I hadn't carried a flashlight with me, and it was getting increasingly difficult to navigate my way around the now thick forest. I felt a whoosh as if something had just run past me, but when I turned around, there was no one there. I had seen this kind of thing play out in all the horror movies I watched over the past couple of weeks, but never for one did I feel the same kind of fear I felt at the moment. Shuffling, more shuffling, and then a crack. Right in front of me was a set of red glowing eyes. In the dark, it looked like a red diamond of some sort, ruby perhaps, but I knew it was none of that. I blinked a couple of times, and when I looked back, it was gone. Instinctively, I began running back to the path I had come from. I heard footsteps running behind me, but I didn't dare look back. I had figured that it was better I didn't see what was behind me and just keep running until I found help of some sort. Apparently, my lungs didn't agree with that plan, as it kept burning, urging me to stop. I got to the clearing where I'd been originally, but something was off. With panting breaths, I looked around, and I finally realized what was off. The body that had been there had been removed, and in its place was an awfully familiar piece of clothing that I could never forget, no matter how much I tried. It was a gray hoodie, and not any gray hoodie, but Robbie's. Without hesitation, I ran toward it, my heart reeling with fear and confusion. There was nothing on the hoodie, no blood or hair or anything that could point out what it was doing at the spot. He must have been looking for me, I thought to myself, swallowing thickly. The thought gave me more hope than I had imagined. I looked around, not forgetting that there had been a body at that spot. Now, I was second-guessing myself. I was no longer sure if there was a body at this spot, or if I had been seeing things. While I was still trying to understand the scheme of things, the sound of rumbling thunder brought me out of my thoughts. It felt as if I was being watched. I swallowed thickly and began to shiver when I felt a strong presence behind me. I slowly turned around, scared that I might see the dead man behind me. But it was something else. There was Robbie standing in front of me, But this was not Robbie at all. His eyes were red, and there were strange markings on his face. The figure in front of me looked nothing like my best friend of 5 years. There were horns on his head, and fangs replaced the teeth that gave him the brightest smile I had come to love over the years. The figure gave me an evil smile, as if satisfied to see my reaction.
Welcome to Hell, Rose. I've been waiting years for this moment.
And then, everything went black.